Before we start the video, I want to talk to you about preamps. Every year, manufacturers have been putting fewer and fewer parts into their preamps and raising prices. There's no such thing as fairy dust. Preamps are made of parts and engineering, so there should be something in the box. With a power amp, it's kind of hard to cheat because you have to have a power transformer and output transformers, and even then they try to cheap out. In a preamp, you can make a tube preamp for $1,500 retail that's going to sound reasonably good and make a bucket full of money. The problem is they're taking that preamp and putting it into a big empty box and charging $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 for them. And there's no excuse for it. I just saw a new preamp from a very well-known manufacturer that came out that is $7,500 and it weighs 15.9 pounds. The previous model was $69.95 and weighed 16.5 pounds. So how does that work? In fact, the new model has cheaper volume control chips in it. They used to be $4 chips, now they're down to $2 chips. The customer doesn't know because they're going to sound decent, but they're not going to be great. You need to be pragmatic and you need to use Google and Google Images. Type in the model number of what you're considering. Look at Google Images to see how it looks on the inside. See how much it weighs. There's no such thing as fairy dust. Look, the PrimaLuna DiaLogue Premium weighs 37.5 pounds, and the DiaLogue Premium is 53 pounds of real parts and real engineering. Make sure that you get something for your money. Thanks. Hi, I'm Kevin Deal. Today we're going to take a look at the PrimaLuna DiaLogue Premium Preamp. If you could have a laundry list of the very, very best things that you could put into a preamp, the stuff that you would just hope to be able to get if you spent $10,000 or $20,000 for a preamp, you'd want these things. You'd want it to be tube rectified. You'd want it to be dual mono. You'd want it to have an analog volume control. And then if you could have it all, if you could have every dream that you want, you'd want it to have point-to-point wiring. And you get it here in this preamp. As you can see, it has two 5AR4 rectifier tubes, one for each channel. It uses 12AU7s for gain. The reason they use 12AU7s is because there's more of those being made today around the world than any other part. So if you end up changing speakers and you get a speaker that's bright, well, let's say you get a speaker that's a little bit darker than you like, you can change out just two of these tubes to another brand and tweak up or tweak down the top end response just a little bit. If you like the effect of what you've done, change another pair, or even the last pair. It's up to you. We've got tons of information about that on the PrimaLuna website. You can also explore the idea of using new old stock vintage tubes. But if you buy a preamp that uses 6H30 tubes, you get none of that. There's only one kind to choose from, and if that factory goes out of business, you're sunk. So what makes this preamp so special? Let's look. We talked about it being dual mono. These are the power transformers. They are toroids. Toroidal transformers cost 5 times more what a C-core or EI-core transformer might cost. But there's a huge benefit to them because they don't radiate EMI outside of their core. So they don't pollute the circuitry of the preamp. These transformers are potted. That means that they are sealed in epoxy and then into a special metal can to protect them from the elements and to reduce microphony and to make sure that there's no noise emanating from them at all. PrimaLuna invented a special circuit you won't find anywhere. It's called the AC offset killer. Regardless of the condition of the electricity in your home, these transformers are going to be as quiet as a church mouse. Here's some slick engineering right here. Instead of a selector switch, which has wipers that go between the inputs and never really turn off those other inputs completely, PrimaLuna has a much more elegant solution. These are hermetically sealed relays made by a division of Fujitsu in Japan. They're operated by a controller board in the front. When you select CD as an example, this relay closes, giving you the best contact possible. All the other relays are left open, so it acts as a gatekeeper to keep out noise or signals or any of the stuff that can come in from unused inputs. Something else that's kind of slick is the signal path is almost non-existent. It's super, super short. And underneath each relay is a circuit that's designed to present a perfect 100,000 ohm impedance to your source components. They like that. All of your sources are going to sound their best. I don't know of another manufacturer in the world that does that. The volume control is an analog ALPS blue velvet potentiometer. That is the gold standard in volume controls. It's very tempting to use a chip, but chips sound flat. Chips have an electronic sheen to them, and I understand why manufacturers want to use them. They only cost maybe $2 each. This part costs over $50. But it's worth it because it gives you all the glory of an analog volume control. The entire signal path is wired with Swiss-made, silver-plated, oxygen-free copper with a Teflon dielectric. The resistors that you see are pink. That's because they're TACMAN resistors. TACMAN is an audiophile resistor known for being quiet and linear. They're custom made in Japan. I cannot think of another manufacturer that uses those in production. They also use Mundorf MCAP Evo silver gold capacitors in critical positions. These capacitors are made in Germany. They're custom made to order, but I am telling you something. They sound unbelievable. Again, an expensive part. I don't know of another manufacturer that supplies these without being a very, very expensive option. I want to talk about one more thing, and that's gain. When you are using a preamp, you are not adding any gain. If you were to plug your CD player into your power amp, it would blow you out of the room. So preamps are not adding gain. They're actually attenuating the volume by maybe 6 dB. So if you see a preamp that has 18, 24, 26, even 30 dB of gain, it's going to be a problem. The system is not going to be quiet. You're going to have problems with tubes going noisy and microphony. When you have that much gain, you got to do something with it, and it's going to create problems in the way of thermal noise. This preamp has only 10 dB of gain. It is insanely quiet. I had somebody describe it to me this way. He said, it's as if somebody had stuck a vacuum cleaner into the preamp and sucked out all the noise. I think I mentioned this preamp has a 256 ohm output impedance. That means you can use it with virtually any power amp in the world. There's no compatibility issue. You can run a 30-foot cable. It's not a problem. Go to the website, look inside, be pragmatic. Don't buy something just because of a good review. You can make a tube preamp for $1,500 that'll sound pretty good. Buy something that is iconic. The DiaLogue Premium.